Welcome to my YouTube channel 24/7 AG Library. Today my topic, Fundamentals of Arts. Multiple choice questions. Questions. 1. Who said, line is a dot that went for a walk? A. Paul Cézanne. B. Paul Klee. C. Paul Gauguin. D. Paul Rubens. Answer. B. Paul Klee. Questions. 2. Have an engaging motion, mystery and psychedelic effect. A. Spiral lines. B. Conical lines. C. Diagonal lines. D. Horizontal lines. Answer. A. Spiral lines. Questions. 3. Shape is two-dimensional with height and width, whereas form is dimensional. A. 1. B. 3. C. 4. D. Multi. Answer. B. 3. Questions. 4. When we mix one primary and one secondary color, we get a color. A. Complementary. B. Warm. C. Monochrome. D. Tertiary. Answer. D. Tertiary. Questions. 5. What are primary colors? A. Primary colors are those which cannot be obtained by mixing any two colors. B. Primary colors are those that are used in elementary classes. C. Primary colors are the colors of the rainbow. D. Primary colors are those that are placed opposite in the color wheel. Answer. A. Primary colors are those which cannot be obtained by mixing any two colors. Questions. 6. Blue and makes green, which is opposite to red. A. Yellow. B. Red. C. Orange. D. Brown. Answer. A. Yellow. Questions. 7. And yellow forms orange, which is the opposite to blue. A. Yellow. B. Red. C. Orange. D. Brown. Answer. B. Red. Questions. 8. Blue and red make. Which is the opposite of yellow? A. Indigo. B. Magenta. C. Violet. D. Purple. Answer. C. Violet. Questions. 9. What is value with regards to color? A. It is the strength of a color. B. It is the brightness or dullness of a color. C. It is the degree of lightness or darkness of a color. D. It is the price of the pigment used. Answer. C. It is the degree of lightness or darkness of a color. Questions. 10. What is intensity with regards to color? A. It is the ability of a color to dominate while mixing. B. It is the brightness or dullness of a color. C. It is the degree of lightness or darkness of a color. D. It is the price of the pigment used. Answer. B. It is the brightness or dullness of a color. Questions. 11. Texture is the of materials, either visual or tactile. A. Surface quality. B. Softness. C. Hardness. D. Design. Answer. A. Surface quality. Questions. 12. Refers to the way a surface actually feels or looks like. A. Line. B. Space. C. Value. D. Texture. Answer. D. Texture. Questions. 13. Is an empty place or surface in or around a work of art. It can be negative and or positive. A. Shape. B. Color. C. Space. D. Value. Answer. C. Space. Questions. 14. This is the most basic element of art. It is used to draw lots of different things in art. A. Texture. B. Space. C. Line. D. Value. Answer. C. Line. Questions. 15. Is the path of a dot through a space. A. Texture. B. Space. C. Line. D. Value. Answer. C. Line. Questions. 16. They are three-dimensional. They have height, width and depth roundness. A. Colors. B. Shapes. C. Forms. D. Values. Answer. C. Forms. Questions. 17. This is what we see as light waves are absorbed or reflected by everything around us. A. Line. B. Space. C. Value. D. Color. Answer. D. Color. Questions. 18. Pick the best answer to describe shape. A. A principle of art that deals with height and B. An element that refers to the area between, around and or within things. C. An element that is concerned with height and width, and that encloses space. D. An element that is concerned with depth, and that encloses space. Answer. C. An element that is concerned with height and width, and that encloses space. Questions. 19. Which element of art is concerned with reflected light? A. Value. B. Color. C. Pattern. D. Texture. Answer. B. Color. Questions. 20. Which principle of art refers to how art elements help direct a viewer's eyes through a work of art? A. Space. B. Balance. C. Emphasis. D. Movement. Answer. D. Movement. Questions. 21. Which element of art refers to the distance or area between, around, or within things? A. Texture. B. Contrast. C. Space. D. Rhythm. Answer. C. Space. Questions. 22. Balance is A. A principle of art that just makes a piece feel right. B. A principle of art that deals with visual weight. C. A principle of art that can be described as either symmetrical or asymmetrical. D. All the above. Answer. D. All the above. Questions. 23. Which is not an element of art? A. Line. B. Form. C. Rhythm. D. Color. Answer. C. Rhythm. Questions. 24. Straight, curvy, zigzag, diagonal, horizontal are all words to describe A. Line. B. Form. C. Rhythm. D. Color. Answer. A. Line. Questions. 25. Soft, hard, smooth, rough are examples of A. Space. B. Texture. C. Rhythm. D. Color. Answer. B. Texture. Questions. 26. Which element shows how light and dark something is? A. Value. B. Form. C. Rhythm. D. Color. Answer. A. Value. Questions. 27. In a painting of a tree, what elements would be important to include? A. Line. B. Color. C. Texture. D. All of these. Answer. D. All of these. Questions. 28. Which of the following is not a principle of art? A. Dominance. B. Balance. C. Rhythm. D. Color. Answer. D. Color. Questions. 29. Adding black or white to a hue creates a change in A. Dimensions. B. Proportion. C. Value. D. Space. Answer. C. Value. Questions. 30. Complementary, analogous and monochrome are examples of A. Color schemes. B. Rhythm. C. Values. D. Types of perspective. Answer. A. Color schemes. Questions. 31. A. Is a design, image, or shape repeated in a combination to make an artwork appealing? A. Movement. B. Pattern. C. Proportion. D. Form. Answer. B. Pattern. Questions. 32. Form is a shape of volume and A. Mass. B. Depth. C. Density. D. Weight. Answer. A. Mass. Questions. 33. Reds, yellows, and oranges are considered what type of color? A. Neutral colors. B. Cool colors. C. Warm colors. D. Contrasting colors. Answer. C. Warm colors. Questions. 34. Name the principle of design that connects a variety of elements and principles of art into a work of art with unity and balance. A. Emphasis. B. Harmony. C. Variety. D. Secondary. Answer. B. Harmony. Questions. 35. Two-dimensional artworks have height and width but not. A. Symmetry. B. Themes. C. Textures. D. Depth. Answer. D. Depth. Questions. 36. Color with black gray added to it is called. A. Hue. B. Tone. C. Neutral. D. Tint. Answer. B. Tone. Questions. 37. Color with white added to it is called. A. Hue. B. Tone. C. Shade. D. Tint. Answer. D. Tint. Questions. 38. Is the term that implies a balance of parts on opposite sides of an imaginary midline? A. Symmetry. B. Function. C. Emphasis. D. Composition. Answer. A. Symmetry. Questions. 39. Is the area between, around, above, below, or contained within objects? A. Space. B. Form. C. Shape. D. Scale. Answer. A. Space. Questions. 40. These colors are created by the mixture of two primary colors. What are they? A. Tertiary colors. B. Primary colors. C. Secondary colors. D. Property of colors. Answer. C. Secondary colors. Questions. 41. Give the three terms that are properties of color. A. Hue, value, and intensity. B. Primary, secondary, and tertiary. C. Complementary, contrasting, and intense. D. Symmetrical, asymmetrical, and balanced. Answer. A. Hue, value, and intensity. Questions. 42. The area or part of an artwork that the subject occupies is called. A. Negative space. B. Positive space. C. Studio space. D. Reflective space. Answer. B. Positive space. Questions. 43. Black, white, gray and variations of brown are known as. A. Warm colors. B. Watercolors. C. Cool colors. D. Neutral colors. Answer. D. Neutral colors. Questions. 44. What is the principle of design that deals with the feeling of motion? A. Abstract. B. Action. C. Movement. D. Dominance. Answer. C. Movement. Questions. 45. Is the use of only one hue or color that can vary in value or intensity? A. Analogous. B. Asymmetry. C. Balance. D. Monochromatic. Answer. D. Monochromatic. Questions. 46. Blues, greens, violets, and their variant tints, tones, and shades are known as. A. Warm colors. B. Cool colors. C. Neutral colors. D. Contrasting colors. Answer. B. Cool colors. Questions. 47. Colors that are exactly opposite to one another on the color wheel are called. Colors. A. Warm. B. Cool. C. Complementary. D. Balanced. Answer. C. Complementary. Questions. 48. Name the three types of balance. A. Foreground, middle ground, background. B. Formal, informal, radial. C. Contrast, complementary, analogous. D. Warm, cool, neutral. Answer. B. Formal, informal, radial. Questions. 49. Formal balance is another word for which type of balance? A. Asymmetrical. B. Radial. C. Symmetrical. D. Geometric. Answer. C. Symmetrical. Questions. 50. What is the opposite complementary color of violet on the color wheel? A. Green. B. Orange. C. Red. D. Yellow. Answer. D. Yellow. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe my channel for more videos and Press the bell icon for instant notifications.